Hey guys, Ips here with the first actual announcement video I've done for the MPL or on this channel. If you don't know me, my name's IPokeShuckles, or Ips, or Josh, whatever you want to call me. I will be going over the week 1 battles, short recaps and stuff like that. I don't even know if I should be swearing or not, but I probably swear, so if you don't like swearing, then, you know, fuck you. But we'll just go straight into the first match. So the first match was Daniki, or Dan, or the St. Louis Sableyes against the Viridian Beedrills, being Dench B. Now this is a pretty good match, not gonna lie. It was really close. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. All of this applies to the videos, the battles I'll be going over. But basically what happens is he sends out his Kingdra. He actually misses 3 Hydro Pumps, or I should say Dench misses 3 Hydro Pumps throughout the match, which is really unfortunate. Their Armal, though, did get knocked down to a really small amount on the second Hydro Pump. I'm not sure if that was a low roll or not, but he was able to knock off his Scope Lens as well as set up rocks, which wasn't exactly huge because he did have, Mew did have defog and stuff like that. But it definitely was unfortunate. The fucking Tornadus missed a few times as well, which is again pretty unfortunate, but it did sort of, I guess you could say, throw in a few twists into the match, which is pretty cool. What Dench did, he set up a few layers of spikes, then he went into Mew and went for defog, which is definitely questionable. I know a lot of people in the MPL were questioning that, but he did come back, I guess you could say, from that, because basically the Magna Zone was in, and fucking he ran Earthquake on his Mew, which was fucking huge in my opinion. That was really, really solid on Dench's part. And also Dan did make a really good play with the Tornadus having HP Rock on HP Rock just for the Talonflame. Now I'm not sure if he actually if he EV'd this specifically to live a +1 Brave Bird from a Talonflame. If he did, props. If he didn't, lucky. But either way, it's really good on his part, and he did have Dark Pulse. I presume for the Reuniclus as well, which is definitely good. And basically, it did end off the match there with the Reuniclus being paralyzed, and he went for a few Dark Pulses, and I think it was like a 70 or 60% chance of the Reuniclus getting flinched or paralyzed, so it wasn't looking great for Dench, but it was really close. It was a 1-0 and Dan did win that. So the second match I'm going to go over is the Oakland Raichus versus the Phoenix Sunflowers, Oakland Raichus being Anthony or War Tortoise, and Phoenix Sunflowers being Riggy Turkey. So this was on Showdown. War Tortoise's internet wasn't holding up or something like that, and I feel like both of them did play quite well. I feel Riz made a few more plays than Anthony did or War Tortoise did, but War Tortoise did make a lot of straight to the point plays, if that makes sense. So it wasn't really risking anything, and there were a lot of safe moves he did make, not predicting too much or over predicting. But I feel like Riz did plan a lot for this game. I feel like one of the reasons why he is so good in this format is because he's really good at actually planning his teams and stuff like that. For example, he did have a Belly Drum, a Zoom Realm, and he calced everything in advance as to how he would sweep with this thing. So for example, with the Quillfish and stuff like that, he did plan really well. I think it was about the 5th to 10th turn, something like that. I wasn't counting, I wasn't paying attention, just trying to sound professional, as if like I know what I'm doing. But basically he switched out his Rose Raid as Anthony went for an Ice Punch, and unfortunately for him, his whole fucking plans for this match, being sweeping with the Zoomrel, was sort of put to a halt because he did unfortunately get the freeze on the Zoomrel, which definitely was unfortunate. But Riz did have Yon on his Starland, which is sort of uncommon, just because he was planning on setting up spikes and stuff like that, and with everyone, you know, getting forced to switch out, definitely was a really good backup plan, if that makes sense. War Tortoise did bring delayed and Jolteon, which definitely did a huge number to Riz's team. However, Riz did outplay him slightly by killing them off fast, realizing which were the biggest threats. And the biggest play, in my opinion, was the switch into the Cloyster. Riz switching into the Cloyster, predicting the Jolteon to go for a Hidden Power Ice. Throughout the game, like I said, War Tortoise did play quite straightforward. It was a really bold predict on Rizzy's part, and I feel like this would have this did win him the game, because the Jolteon plus the Goncalder did do a huge number to the rest of his team, being the Cloyster, Pinsir, and the Gliscor. So again, a really good game. Riz did win 2-0 in that one. So the third match was the Baltimore Braviaries being Moxie and Fernape against the Dallas Staravias being Trip. I feel like in the first few turns, when Trip brought in the Goth and Moxie had his Clefable in, the trick was pretty huge. It did cripple down the Clefable, as well as ensuring that it really can't stall too much, which was really smart on Trip's end, in my opinion. And this fucking took forever. I don't know how many turns it was, but this is a pretty long match because of all the switches and stuff like that. Trip also had a regenerated core, being the Alamomola and Time Growth, which was really good and did work out. Regenerated cores do tend to work out a lot, and pretty surprised that he was actually able to snag both of them. So props to Trip for actually realizing that and stuff like that. But on Moxie's side, Porygon Z was a huge threat, especially it being Choice Scarfed, because it did outspeed a lot of his team. And on Trip's side, the Lucario was a huge threat as well. It could have set up, gone for extreme speed, bullet punches, etc. And Porygon Z was Choice Scarf, so he could just come in and spam Tri Attack, kill off a few mons, if not bring it down to a point where something else can kill it off. Now Moxie had Giga Drain on the Tentacle, which is pretty cool in my opinion for the Alamomola, I presume. Most Tentacles do run Giga Drain, but he could have ran something like Toxic Spikes or something along those lines. So I thought it was a pretty good decision on Moxie's side as well. Moxie did lose 3-0, so Trip did take that. The Dallas Staravias did take that, and in my opinion, it definitely was another solid match. So this is the fourth match, being the Detroit Lipards versus the San Francisco 49tails. Cypher being Detroit Lipards and Baiser being the San Francisco 49tails. In my opinion, this was the best match in week 1. Probably I would say, I'm just gonna say this, it's probably one of the standouts in my opinion. And I know a lot of MPL, people in the MPL, like the coaches and stuff, are probably gonna beat me up for saying this, but it definitely was my favorite match, like by far. In week 1, there's a lot of good matches, but I'm supposed to be fucking going over the match, not fucking talking about how good it was. But basically, Baiser leads with his Tornadus Eye. He goes for a knockoff on the Alakazam, bring it down to its Sash, goes for a Tailwind. I presume he had Tailwind in order for the Charizard X to have no worries with the Landorus, even if it was Scarfed. Potentially the Rotom Mo, which may have been Scarfed as well. Baiser brings in his Rotom Wash, goes for Hydro Pump, I presume predicting Lando or something along those lines, and unfortunately does miss, which sort of stuck because Cypher was able to get a free Energy Ball off, which sort of did matter in the long run. Not hugely, but it did matter in the long run. There's also a point where Baiser brought in his Swampert, so he can got like a few burns on the Scizor, as well as the Swampert. The burn on the Scizor, in my opinion, I think it mattered. I'm not sure, I have to calculate, but I think it mattered at close to the end of the match. I think it was the last turn of the match or something like that. And but props to Cypher for actually whittling down the Swampert, because he did get the burn. He switched a few times, predicting the Ice Beams, Scalds, etc., to a point where Mon was able to come in and take the Swampert out. Baiser also did bring a Scarfed Gengar, which was super interesting. I presume for the Alakazam and potentially the Rotom which could have been Scarfed itself. And I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure that Gengar actually, a Scarfed Gengar outspeeds his Lando, because Lando was quite a big threat to a few of his mons, but he did have a lot of mons that was able to counter it. I'm not sure, I have to ask Visor, but I think Gengar might have had Hidden Power Ice. Brings me on to my next point. Fucking Charizard X, he sets up a D-Dance, takes out a mon, then as the Lando comes in, he goes for a Hidden Power Ice, which was fucking mind-blowing. Probably one of the best plays in the game, even though it wasn't really huge, but it was just really surprising. Like, it was so fucking surprising. And Cypher did plan this out. I would say both of them planned it out extremely well. Cypher also had 4 EVs on the Rotom in order to outspeed the Rotom Wash. And at the end of the game, why I said that the burn on the system might have mattered was because Scizor could have gone for the Bullet Punch on the Rotom Rotom is about at 40-45%, something like that, something along those lines. And if it wasn't burnt, I feel like he could have gotten crit or taken it out, either one of those. But yeah. So the next match is Anister Umbreons versus the Leeds Rhyhorn. Anister Umbreons being Mystic Umbreon and Leeds Rhyhorn being Geordie. So basically at the start, Flygon's Choice Scarf was knocked off by Electros. He just Geordie straight up went for an Outrage, and I thought this was a pretty decent play. How Mystic went into his Bisharp, knowing that Flygon was at a point where a Sucker Punch would be able to take out the Flygon. So he did tank the Outrage. I wouldn't say tank, but he did take the Outrage quite well, and I did go for a Sucker Punch, which did take out the Flygon. And Geordie brought in his Infernape at one point, went for U-turn knowing he would switch out Bisharp, and the second time the Bisharp and Infernape were both in, he did go for a Mark Punch and did take out the Bisharp, which was a good play on Geordie's part, predicting that. And there was quite a lot of momentum actually in the game, being the U-turn from Infernape and the Volt switches from Electros. And the thing that actually changed the match was how Mienshao missed a high jump kick, unfortunately, against the Mega Manectric. This did matter in the long run because the Mienshao was Choice Scarfed, which meant it would outspeed the Mega Manectric as well as the Infernape. Infernape could have gone for a Mark Punch, but I doubt it would have killed unless he got a crit, but you know, you never know. So super unfortunate for Mystic missing his high jump kick, and that was a 2-0 in Geordie's favor. So the next match is the Memphis Ursaring against the East Lansing Toxicroaks, Ursaring being Rageknot and the Toxicroaks being Poi. So Chris actually decided to run double Scarf, being the Kyurem Black and the Scarf itself. Pretty sure itself was Scarf, I don't remember too well, but I'm pretty sure it was Scarfed. Which definitely did come into play. Kyurem was able to knock out a few mons with it being Scarfed, as well as Zelf sort of cleaning up the game there. Ursaring was on Poi's side, definitely was pretty good, because it did come in Facade, kill the Manaphy, and Entei did come in, go for an extreme speed on the Ursaring, which didn't take it out, and the Facade was able to stare out the Entei. And at that point, I sort of thought that Entei was a really solid mon, especially with extreme speed against the rest of his team, for example with Darmanitan and the Mega Alakazam. And I feel like one of the best plays in the match was when Poi actually went for a U-turn on the Venusaur sack with his Darmanitan, which was really respectable, because it did mean that he could come in with his Alakazam and potentially knock out the Venusaur. However, he did go for a double Calm-Mind, which was sort of an interesting play. I feel like he should have maybe gone for just one Calm-Mind or something like that. Venusaur did have Sleep Powder, which obviously he didn't know about because Rageknot didn't use it. But I feel like he should have maybe set it once and then gone for a Psychic instead of taking that much damage. Meaning that Kyurem or Zelf, which could have been Scarfed, come in and basically take that thing out. And at the end, the Azelf did come in and knock out the Diamanitan, which was Life Orb, I believe, and the Alakazam. So it was a 2-0 on Rage Naught's side. So the next match is the Wolverhampton Weavils being Just Weavile Jack against the Pittsburgh Steelers being Ipa. So the first turn, Garchomp, Jack leads off with his Garchomp, or Just Weavile I should say, leads off with his Garchomp against the Galvantula, and Ipa did sort of plan this well because I presume it was sashed, and as the Garchomp did outspeed to go for an EQ, did knock it out obviously, and the Galvantula did go for a Hidden Power Ice. So the Garchomp did get knocked out really early up in the game, which I don't think mattered too much overall, but Garchomp definitely was pretty big. So props to Ipa for actually bringing and realizing that the Hidden Power Ice was a thing. And looking at Just's team against Ipa's, Sticky Web wouldn't have been extremely useful. He also had Victini, which was Expert Belt, which we found out later on in the match, which did sort of coincide. I don't even know if that's a word or not, but it did go along with Sticky Webs as well as the Dragalgly and stuff like that. So Sticky Webs was definitely obvious. That's why I presume Jack or Just Weavile did lead off with the Garchomp, not expecting anything huge, especially a Hidden Power Ice. And at a point, Jack, Just Weavile, did go for Moonblast on the Victini, and he did mention that I think it was about an 80% chance for Moonblast to kill, and Ipa did get pretty lucky with the Victini living. And later on in the match, Victini did go for a Glaciate. He did decide to go for a Glaciate instead of a V-Create or something along those lines, which wasn't able to take out the Florges, which was really unfortunate for Ipa, because the Moonblast was able to take out the Victini. I feel like Jack was, or Just Weavile was, pretty unlucky with a few of the misses, and not being able to kill Victini and stuff like that, but Ipa sort of going for Glaciate there sort of did matter, I presume, in the long run, and Just Weavile did plan extremely well with the Heracross in my opinion, and Ipa did plan well with the Sticky Webs and the Victini and stuff like that, but the Heracross was pretty interesting because it was Guts, Choice Band with Mega Horn, Close Combat I presume, Stone Edge I guess, etc, etc. So they both played extremely well. It was a 2-0 in Just Weavile's favor, and it was another pretty decent match. Now finally, the last match being the Houston Axus against the Sacramento Kingdras. Houston Axus being Slaxorus, Sacramento Kingdras being Eric. Now Eric did make a lot of good plays, so did Slax. They both made a lot of good calls, like the whole of week 1. Everyone's been playing pretty damn well. All of the games were close and stuff like that, but Eric's plays most of the time were really straightforward. However, a lot of it were risky, which did throw Slax off a bit. For example, Eric stayed in with his Heatran against Slax's Hippowdon. Hippowdon would have easily been able to take out the Heatran. However, Eric did keep the Heatran in, and it actually almost OHKO'd the Hippowdon, which is really ballsy because Heatran was scarfed, as we found out later on in the match, and Heatran was definitely extremely good against Slax's team. For example, the Amoonguss, the Togekiss, etc, etc. So it was really a really ballsy play on Eric's side. Now Eric also freezed Amoonguss with the Slowbro with the Ice Beam, which is really unfortunate, but I mean, stuff happens, and in the end, Slax did play really well with the Togekiss and Amoonguss, especially the Togekiss. He actually ended up winning and taking the win by para-flinching, which was, I mean, obviously you have to do what you have to do. Not the best way to win, but it definitely was definitely respectable on both ends. Eric couldn't really do too much, and Slax was forced to do that if he wanted to win. So that's basically it. I'm pretty sure do I have anything else to say? I don't think I have anything else to say. I think that's all. Pretty sure that's all. Probably missed one out, but pretty sure that's all. Make sure to check out all the coaches down below. Go watch all the matches and stuff like that. All of them were extremely good and well worth the watch. I would suggest fucking watching them. But make sure to subscribe to all the coaches as well as all the announcers. But I don't think I have anything else to say. I don't even know what I'm gonna do for later. Bye.